All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for stopping by. I'm Stephen Jackson from Imprintables Warehouse, and you are at the Corel Draw Session 4, Combining What You've Learned webinar. And we're going to go over a lot of the stuff from the first 3 webinars and show how to combine things together, and we're going to talk about setting up the job, some considerations with the customer, some material considerations, a whole bunch of stuff. Got a lot to cover, but as always, we have some poll questions that we'd like to ask you, so we'll get those done and over with in the beginning here. And the first one's come up here. How long have you been using Corel Draw? Just select one of them. Just getting started, 1 to 3 years, 3 to 5, 5 plus, and I am a pro. I don't even know if I'd consider myself a pro. I know a lot about it, but I don't know what constitutes a pro. I've been using Corel Draw myself, I think, for 10 or 11 years now. So there comes the poll responses. Okay. I got to make my screen a little bit bigger here. Sorry about that. A bunch of you just getting started, and it looks like the most are in 1 to 3 years. And that's typically where I see people at when they're needing a little bit more help and trying to figure things out. Is that 1 to 3 years, is you know enough to be dangerous, but not enough to really get things done sometimes. Second one's an easy yes or no one. Do you have a print and cut system? That would be a Roland VersaCAM, Mimaki, Muto. Actually, I'm sorry, Mutos don't have cut in it, so it'd be a Mimaki or a Roland, or any facsimile thereof. Should be a quick one for us. Here it comes. And 70% of you. Okay, excellent. We'll talk about that a little bit in the webinar and when you're doing consideration for the job itself, and then also for some of the setup items on it. And have you guys attended any of my previous webinars? And I think I would even count if you've just been online and watched the YouTube videos. So hopefully you know if they were mine. You've heard my squeaky kind of voice. I always think I sound funny online. Maybe it's that Midwest accent from Michigan. Oh, wow, 100%. I'm very flattered. Thanks, guys. Well, there's 12 of you out there right now, and I did look through the names of the pre-registered and knew quite a few of you, so I appreciate that. All right, let's jump into the content and get some learning. So first things first, bring it up here. Evaluation phase. When a customer comes to you and says, I want shirts done, there's a lot of considerations that go into it. How many we're going to do? Do they want 1? Do they want 10? Do they want 50, 500? It all changes the way you make the shirt and the way you might approach the graphics. So it's very important to understand and evaluate the job before you even jump into the graphics. How many colors? Now, if it's 1 or 2 colors, there might be one way of doing it. If they come to you and they've got 15 colors or a photograph in there or something along that line, that's going to be an entirely different job, and you might approach the artwork from a different aspect on that. If they come to you and say they want 50 of them and they only have 2 colors, maybe we can look at the design and get it down to a 1 color and do it a slightly different way. Choose like maybe CAD cut or something along that line. So it's very important to know how many colors and what type of media. And what I mean by this is I like to give customers samples. So when, say, any one of you or the customer, you're coming to me to discuss your job, we sit down and we talk about the different factors involved in it and the different products available to it. And when we get down to a certain point on it, I would bring out samples of shirts that have been made with the different types of processes and make a recommendation. I think that this job might be good with either CAD cut or a plastisol transfer, and then give you some examples of each one of those so you can kind of get it into your hands and feel it and get an idea of what it's going to be like for that end product. So that's why I put what type of media in there and under the customer question portion. And now we have to make what process is right for the job. If the customer comes to me and wants, say, 50 shirts, but each one of them is going to be customized, well, then a screen print transfer is probably not going to be the route to go. If I were sending that out for plastisol transfer, say from Transfer Express, having 50 individual ones is going to cost a lot of money. So in that one, CAD cut media would be possibly a better choice, especially if it's a single color. But what if it's a 5, 6, 7, 8 color job? That CAD cut media, trying to layer all those colors is going to be too cumbersome, and it's not going to work well with the job. So we're going to kind of customize a job and choose the process that's right for the job. And transfer, maybe they want them customized. There's 50 shirts, but the customization is just a simple name, and the rest of the design's the same on all of them. We could do a plastisol transfer and then just do the name in a CAD cut media. So like I've got here, you guys can read CAD cut, great for small runs, customizing print and cut, great for medium runs and many colors. And the transfer, like Transfer Express, the plastisol transfers, great for large runs and small number of colors. So that's kind of the evaluation phase and finding out what's going on. Next is setup. Once we've determined what type of job we're going to do, we need to set up those graphics. And I've got this set here with a question mark and an exclamation point because customers, our clients, are notorious for their graphics. Oh, absolutely, I have graphics right here. It's on my business card. You can just push a button and make it into perfect vector artwork ready product, right? They don't understand what we do. So what type of graphic is it is very important to us. And is it right for the job? When we look at a couple graphics here in a minute, we're going to have to take and evaluate it. Is it in vector format? Is it a GIF that they downloaded off of the internet? Is it something they scanned and sent to us? How many colors is it? Is it accurately represented on that graphic with those colors? Now we need to, once we get that from them, we'll make the assumption, because most of the times it is this way, that the graphic is not vector artwork, that it's actually a bitmap, a JPEG, or something like that they provided to us, because that's the only thing that they have and we need to work from it. So we're going to have to use the tools in Corel Draw to redraw that graphic and get it right. So, and I've got a note on here, try auto trace, sometimes it gets the job done, and add elements to the design, lettering, coloring, effects, and things like that. So let's jump into a design. Today's customer is going to be Penguin Pals Daycare, and they've got this cute little penguin that they want to have on the shirt and have penguin pals and some sort of resemblance on there, and they're going to be doing a whole bunch of shirts with us. So for the example today, this is the graphic they've provided. Now I have 3 of them here. If I go ahead and click on the first one, it looks pretty rough. And in fact, I'll zoom in so you guys can really see the difference between these two. So the one on the left that I've selected here, we'll start off with that guy. If I look down at the bottom, I can see it's a bitmap, RGB, and it's 15 by 15 dots or pixels per inch. And the pixels are those big blocks in there. And if I switch to wireframe, go to View and Simple Wireframe or Wireframe, you notice I've created shortcut keys. I've covered this in some of my early webinars. I can see right off the bat that all these guys, when I zoom out, are all bitmaps. They're JPEGs or bitmaps, but it's a raster image. It's not vector artwork and ready to go. So we're going to have to do something with it. Let's look at these first two again. You can see a drastic difference between them, and that this one, the definition is very low, and the next one over it gets a little bit better. So the first one was 15 by 15. We'll go to the second guy, and let's move him over so we can see the second and third. Well, the second one is at 25 by 25, which is a little bit better. And the third guy here is actually pretty decent at 72. So again, I'm looking down in here, or I can go to my object properties and click on bitmap, and it'll show me right here the resolution and the actual size, and that it's 24-bit color RGB. So you can tell quite a bit from the object properties docker. Those are accessed through window, dockers, and you can pick out a whole bunch of different dockers in here. And we do cover that in some early webinars there. So I'm going to zoom back out by pressing the F4 key, and that'll get me to fill the screen. And I'm going to do an auto trace on each one of these, just using the quick function of it. I'm not going to get into the details of auto trace and all the different nuances of it, but we'll take the first one, and on each one of these, this is the 15 by 15, we'll do quick trace. So that comes out, and that's not a very good penguin pal. It's lost eyes, we don't have any definition in the feet, nothing there. So let's take the second one and see how this one comes out. We'll do a trace bitmap, a quick trace. Little bit better, kind of got the eyes and a bit of the nose, but we've lost all the lines around it, and all the definition in the toes is gone. It's not quite where we wanted on this one either. So how about the third one? And that one was at 25 by 25. And this one here, the last one's 72 by 72. So again, we'll do trace bitmap and a quick trace. And this one actually came out pretty darn good. If we're going to zoom in on this guy, I can see that most of the lines were hit pretty well. It's a nice definition around there. I even got the little sliver that was over here. The mouth looks correct. So this, if it was the provided graphic by the customer, I could start off with that one right there and do an auto trace and then smooth out a couple areas and work with it to get it to a usable product. The problem is most of the times we'll get something like the first or the second one because they provided us the graphic. Let me delete this vector object right here so you can see it underneath there. They've taken this, and this was on the internet, and they right-clicked and saved it, and they sent it to us, and it looks decent on there, or maybe even a little smaller. It was good on their web page, and that's all they needed. But actual print size, where we needed it bigger, see there it's 91 by 91 dots per inch. When we bring it to actual print size of 3 by 4 or 3 by 5 almost, it's not quite there. And we've lost all our definition, and again, that quick trace just doesn't do it justice. So this is if we had decent graphics from the customer, we can produce this last one here. But we're going to say, for sake of argument on this, because you're here to learn how to use CorelDRAW, not just auto tracing, that we're going to the second page here, and we're going to redraw this guy. So we've got a vector 1 on the left. Maybe it was that trace from the other one, or this is how it's supposed to look, or something near this. And this is the graphic that was provided to us. It's at 25 by 25 pixels per inch. What I'm going to do is I'm going to right-click and lock this. When I'm tracing around it and drawing my lines around it, I want to have that locked so I don't accidentally grab it and move it. And I'm left-clicking and trying to get it to move there, and it won't. I'd have to right-click on it again and unlock. And I right-clicked while it was here and chose Lock Object. So now it's locked down there. Let's zoom in, and let's start redrawing this guy. There's plenty of different ways to do it. There's no necessarily right or wrong way. I prefer to use the Bezier tool and kind of draw my way around, and I do it in a kind of blocky manner. So I'm going to click on my Bezier tool right here. I'm going to start in this corner here. Actually, I'm going to zoom in on it a little bit first because I want to concentrate on the head and have you guys be able to see this. So the Bezier tool, and I'm also going to go to wireframe. I like to see it as kind of like a gray mode so I can see where those lines are a little bit better. And it's just personal preference on this. So I'll start right here. I'll go up to the top, over to here, come out maybe about there, here, and let's finish this guy off. So it's pretty blocky right there, and I could have curved everything as I went around, but personally for me I found it's faster to go back to the shape tool and then start curving things out. I'll right-click on the line there, turn it to a, oh that's already, I didn't want it as a cusp, I want it as a curve. So I'll take that to a line. I must have dragged it a little bit when I was up there and to curve. There we go. And now I'll drag this out and get it up along that line right there. It's nice. And I'll right-click on this guy and take it to line because I must have dragged it like the other one to curve. And we'll drag this guy so it's nice and curved right there. Again, this one here to curve. Helps if I click. I make mistakes just like you guys. And down here to curve. And once more over here to curve. Okay, so not too bad. I can probably delete that guy there. That's nice and round. I'm actually going to put him back. That line dropped down a little bit. So I'll do what I call putting an anchor node in. I'll add a node right there by double-clicking, and I'll take this one out. And that didn't get the desired effect, really. It seems like it's a little off right there, but I can now adjust it however I want. I'll drag that arrow out and draw that one in, and I'll draw this one back just a little bit, and that's nice right there. This node up here, I can probably delete that. That's nice. It's nice and curved right there. I can even get into this node here if I wanted to, and zoom out just a little bit, and bring that line up just a bit there and a bit here. So it's all in personal preference. You can sit there and tweak it all you want, and hopefully you guys can see that real good. I'm going to go to Enhanced, and I like to make my line red, and we'll go to at least a 2 point so we can see it on there, which is going to bring me to the next step on this. This guy right here, if I want to be able to make that width going all the way around, like on the graphic over here. Let's take a look at them. See how it's got some width and body to it? Well, what I'm going to do is cheat a little bit. I'm going to take this, and instead of 2-point, let's see if a 4-point hits it. 4-point's pretty good. Fits around there and kind of covers that line up all the way around. I'll also want to round out my corners, because right now, let's zoom in on this corner. See how it's a sharp corner right there? Let's round it out. I want you guys to really see this. And I hit this rounded button, and it rounds it out there. That's a nice smooth cutting line that I'll be working with. And any end caps, I'll round those out, even though this graphic doesn't have any end caps to it. So there we go. We have the head portion, and now we need to do the nose and work in the bridge. So looking at the actual nose portion there, that looks like a nice oval to me. So let's start with an oval here. And we'll move it over to the side, get it kind of lined up there, drag my top portion up, drag my bottom portion, and drag this over just a hair. Now sometimes I notice that if I want to just nudge it in, it wants to grab that line. It's too close to it. So I'll drag it out, and then I drag it back in to get it where I want it. And it's not too bad. Actually, I'm pretty pleased with that one. So that's my line right there. Again, we'll come up and make it a 4-point, and you'll see it'll kind of fill in all the way around there nicely. And I can make that one red as well, so I can see it better. And we'll bring the head back in. So now I need to work on this bridge of the nose coming in, the top of the head to the bridge of the nose. I'm going to use my Bezier tool again, and I'm going to kind of cheat with this one. So I'll come down to the edge right about here, and then I'll come into the nose right there where it intersects. It doesn't matter on that portion, and about here where it intersects, and then again up here. And then we'll just finish this guy out real quick, up, over, and close the object. So now that's a completed object, and that's what I wanted with this. So now we'll curve these guys out just like I did before. Come to this line, right-click, change it to a curve. Let's see if we can drag that to make it look nice there. That's pretty good. And this one over here, I may or may not be able to get the whole curve with this one. Let's see. We'll drag this pretty close, but not 100%, so I'll zoom in and I'll adjust it here manually. I'll take this guy and kind of bring it in a bit. That's a little bit more natural on it. This one's not bad up here. Draw it back in just a hair, and there we go. And again, I want to round out my corners and round out the end caps on this one. And we'll make it to the 4-point, just like the other ones. But I'm not going to change the color just yet, because what I want to do is I want to trim out some of this portion here. I'm going to work with my different trim, weld, and intersect tools. I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to arrange it behind the piece in front of it, the red piece there, so it's behind that. And I'm going to take the nose portion and hold down my shift key and take the outer head portion, and I'm going to combine these because I want them to act like one piece. Now they're one object together. I could break that object apart, but they're together. And you can see it's a curve on layer 1. I'll hit Control-Z, and you can see it's two objects on layer 1, but I want it to be just a curve, combined object. Now I'm going to take the lower portion and this portion up here, and when I've shifted and selected both of them, I've got my weld and trim and intersect and all that. Let's hit intersect and see what that does. Right there, intersect. I'll go back, Control-Z so you guys can see this. It creates an object from the area where the two or more objects overlap. And I want it to create this object in here. Okay? So we'll do that intersect. And now I can delete this black piece, and I've got my head drawn in. I've got this one little tick right here, kind of giving shape to the face, so let's add that one in. And to do this one, we'll use the 2-point line right here, the 2-point line tool. And I'll zoom in a little bit. I'll come up to that node. And if you hover over it, you can see it says edge. And then if I come up over here, you can see it says node. I want that node where it connects. So I left-click and drag down, and there's my 2-point line. But I need to make it thicker, again, and we'll go to 4-point. And you can see it's real blocked on the end. It's just a dead end right there. That's where the end cap portion that I've been doing comes over here. We round that out, and it's nice and smooth. And when I combine all this, it'll look a lot nicer and a lot smoother there. So let's zoom out a little bit. Now we need to work with this and kind of combine everything together. I could do the combine tool and then they're all one object again, but it's not really set for cutting. Because if I take this, let me drag it a copy to the side so you can see what's going on without the interfering graphic in the back. So we'll drag it over there, right click, and I made a copy of it. When we look at this in wireframe, you can see the individual wires going all the way around, but it doesn't have that thickness, that depth of anything in there. So what I'm going to do is go around. I could select all and do it in one shot, but I'll show you with a couple of them. Let's start with just the outer portion of the head there. You can see it's a single line, and I'll go to Arrange and Convert Outline to Object. My outline has a thickness. It's a 4-point thickness right now, and when I convert it to an object, you'll see that now it's got that depth, that thickness that we wanted all the way around on it. So I can convert that one, convert this guy, and again, shortcut keys, Control-Shift-Q. So now that's an object, and we'll take this one and Control-Shift-Q. I won't even go into the menu. So now that I've got them all like that, I could take all of them and select it and weld. And now we have one continuous object that goes all the way around it. And we look at it in enhanced, and it looks pretty nice there. But we need to do that to the one over here. I was just kind of showing you so you could see it in wireframe there. So we'll go on over to our penguin here. And I'll select all those, and I'm taking it in one shot, Control-Shift-Q, and if I look at it in wireframe, you'll be able to see that it converted all those to an outline, and now I'll weld them. And now I've got that shape around the face going all the way around, and it's nice and neat in there. So we've got two eyes, and we've got a mouth to work on right here. Well, the mouth is very similar to the little nib that was over here, so let's take and do that 2-point line again, and we'll go from here to here. Zoom in a little bit so we can see this, and we'll adjust that curve. Right click on it to curve. And we'll drag that down so it's got that shape right there. Again, I want that end cap, and 0.5 is not it. Let's see where 2 hits on this one. That's a little thin. Maybe 3. That's a little bit better on that. And again, on this one, I would want to convert it to a curve. So Arrange, or the shortcut key, Control-Shift-Q, and now it's its own object. We could even combine it with the rest of it up here because it's a separate object. And when I hold Shift and select the main head portion there, I have that Combine button available to me again, and now they're all one piece. So that's pretty nice right there. I've got 2 eyes. They look like ovals to me. So let's take an oval, our circle or oval tool, and again make it red so I can kind of see it there. I right-clicked on the red to give it that outline color so I can see what I'm working with here. A little bit more depth on it there, and I'll go back to my selection or pick tool, and I'll click on it a second time so I can get a little rotation to it. That's not too bad. I like that. And we'll go back to the selection tool. I'm going to remove the outline, and I'm going to make it black. We'll do red for right now just to see how it sits on there. It's not too bad. It'll work for the purposes today. Now I'm dragging it over, left click and drag over, and I right click as I'm doing that, and it makes a copy of it. Because these guys are pretty symmetrical on size. And I'll rotate this guy, a little too much there. And once I get it about in the position, I'll use my arrow keys to kind of nudge it over, and I'm happy with that there. So now we'll select these guys and combine it with the black outline. So we'll fill it with black, combine it with the black outline, and I held Shift to select them all, hit Combine, and now they're all one piece working together. So let's drag that off to the side and make a copy so you can see how it's looking so far. So we've got a penguin face right there. Not too bad. Didn't take us too long. As you get used to the different tools, you can do it much faster as you go along. But we've got a bit more to work on here. I'm going to keep it half an eye on time and go around and do some other portions in here and show you different ways to work on it, and we may have to skip ahead to getting into some other portions on it. So for the body here, I would want to use my Bezier tool again and get the rough shape on it. So let's do that. Not the 2-point. I'll use the Bezier, and I'll start out somewhere right about down in here. And we'll get to where it says edge. That's 1 point. Let's go to here, over there, down to where it intersects here, out at the end of the tail. And you can hold down Alt and run your scroll on your mouse. It'll drag it down for you. And I'm going to be doing just the body here. So we'll come out to maybe right here over to this one. We'll go into the body here and then on up there into this point because I'm looking to try to get the outer body. And over there again to where we've got an edge and try to finish this out as an object. Oh, and there's my ending node. So zoom out just a little bit. Looks pretty raw right now, but we can do a lot of it to smooth things out. So let's right-click there to a curve, round this out, looking nice. Right-click here to a curve, again, looking pretty good. And I could probably get rid of that node right there. And see how it curved it out by itself? If I left it in there, that kept it a little bit more open. So maybe I'll add an anchor node there and then take that one out, and that was nice. By double-clicking there, I added what I call an anchor node. And I'll double-click here and add an anchor node and then take this one out, and that curved that down into that point. Real nice, real nice. Again, on this one, right-click to curve, bring it down into there to the shape that I want. And it's going to be important on that tail right there that we do those end caps and rounded corners. So I'll hit on those right now because elsewise that'd come up to a real sharp point on it, and that's not what I want on that. So right-click to curve. Sound very repetitive with this, but sometimes graphics are that way when we're working on them. Again here. Now I jumped over into this portion here when I did the body so that I could have that curve kind of go through the foot because it's kind of behind this foot here. So up in here, I'll take this portion, and this is going to curve out as well, show his tummy coming out a bit. Not a whole lot, and maybe we can drag this one down and make it look a little rounder there. That's nice. And finish up the arm here. Just a little bit more. And again, I'll probably try some anchor nodes. Try this one here. And that's nice, how it curved out there. So we've got that all done. Zoom out just a little bit so you can see it here. And again, we'll do the right-click on red, and let's change that to a 4-point so we can see where it lays. That's not too bad. And it's going to intersect with the head right there, which is fine because we're going to have it weld to it. So let's try doing some intersect here. Go back to our select. And let's see if we can get a good intersect with that. Now, what that did is that created a portion there, and that's not what we're looking for. So let's try moving this guy behind the other one, arrange into order, behind, and put him behind the head there. And I think it's going to chop a little bit right in there, so I might want to bring that down in before I do the intersect. Try to cross over that a bit. So bring this down and actually curve it down so it's below it. And a lot of times what happens with graphics, you'll get it from somebody that's designed it, and instead of actually having all this, working with the weld and trim and intersect, they'll just hide it. They'll fill this in with another color here, and they'll hide it. Let's show that real quick. Let's take this guy here, and I'm going to use the Smart Fill tool to kind of show you this. So I'm going to move the bottom portion out of the way for just a minute here, and we'll use our Smart Fill tool. We'll give it a fill. We'll use specify it. That's a fine color right there, and I don't want any outline. But when I click inside here, it filled that up. And what a lot of people will do is they'll just take this, and they would move it back into place, and that was a graphic you would get. And if I change that color to black, it looks nice. It looks like it's all done there. But the problem is when you look at it in wireframe, now you've got this line going across there that just doesn't fit in with the rest of the design. So you've got to be aware of that, and that it can really alter the design and how it works if you're just having it overlap. On a print and cut, that wouldn't necessarily be an issue, but if I'm doing CAD cut, now this line here going across doesn't combine with anything else, and I'm cutting across the media, and it's making a mess of things. So I'm not going to do that with this one. So we'll go back to our enhanced view. We'll get rid of this portion here, and let's see if we can do a intersect on this one. We'll take this up here, and now we'll do our intersect. And it did not cut that. Oh, I think it's because this one hasn't been converted. See, I make mistakes too. All right. Now we'll take this and there and do our intersect. Nope. Doing something wrong here. Simplify. So the simplify, see how I cut it out right there? Now I could break that curve apart, and this section in here I can get rid of. And this section in here I can take and shift and hold with the other and weld, and now I've got the body going around, and I would start going into the other sections here. So it kind of combined it in there, and we'll move that to the side so you can see the whole project as it is now. We'll get rid of this portion, and we'll take this one here and see how things are going. So you can see our penguin's starting to take pretty good shape right now, and we'll add in the tummy and the foot and stuff like that. We can come back and play around with a little bit of this later in the webinar, but I want to kind of keep moving on so that we can see some other things with it. So once we get done drawing all these portions here and working with the weld and trim and doing the convert outline to object, we'll end up with something similar to this guy right here, to where we've got all three colors in this design, or actually four. There's the yellow, there's the gray, light blue, and black. So that may be a lot for a CAD cut design. We may need to kind of simplify this, but we can take a look at that with the customer and see what they want. So we use some of the tools in Corel Draw to get the graphic right. Showed the auto trace and how sometimes it can work with that. Now we need to look at some of the elements to the design, like lettering and color and effects. So let's take a look at those. So we'll go and add effect. And what I mean by that is you can see that there's a little difference between these guys. The one on the left is fairly simple. He's got that 4 colors, and maybe we're going to take and take the body portion here and delete it. So if it's on a white shirt, now I've got 3 colors that I'm working with instead of 4. If we want to take it down even further, we'll take these guys here, and I don't know if I trimmed it out. I did. So I could delete that, and now I'm at a 2-color design for the customer instead of a 4-color. So if I'm working with CAD medias where I'm going to be layering it, or if I'm working with a plastisol transfer from Transfer Express, I need to sometimes minimize the colors to be able to keep the cost down for them. I could even take this portion here and just do a black and white penguin with some black and white lettering. But it's not very impressive when you look next to this guy over here, something that I'd be using on a print and cut system where I can add some gradients into it. And if you look at the nose, I don't know if it's showing up on your screen very well. I just added a gradient going across here to give it some kind of texture or effect. And I could do a lot more with this graphic along with that in a system where I can do more print and cut. Now I could do that with a plastisol transfer as well. But plastisol transfers, you're going to have to, it can sometimes get expensive to do gradients. And say we're doing an actual photograph, we would need to do a 4-color process and set up those screens separately all the way across there. And that can add up pretty quick for the customer. Unless we're doing a really high volume run, it might not be cost effective. So they may opt for this one over here. Now we could also invert this to a certain extent and maybe do just the inner portion there with the cutout going around it, and the inner portion is going to be the actual graphic and not the black. So we would have to, let's see if I can show that real quick. Might be able to do a simplify here. We'll do it as a light gray to kind of be a metallic film, and I'm going to put it to the back of the layer. And we'll take this, those two, and let's do a simplify. So with the simplify, break this curve apart, and I'm going to delete the outer portion there. And now if I take the black away, move it away, and we'll take all of this. I need to keep my other little portions there together. And we'll move these guys to the side. And all of this here, well, I would need those eyes back in there, would have no outline. That's not going to work. I would have to break this guy apart and put those eyes back in there. So we'll put the eyes back in, and let's make a copy of this so we can work with that so you can see the 2 different ones. So we've got a copy there. I'll get rid of the black portion here, and on this I'm going to remove I want to remove these portions. Nope. Let's do that one more time in there. We're going to do intersect or trim. Oh, wrong button. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Not quite as neat looking, but if I was doing a CAD cut film and I wanted to have like a mirror effect on there, and I could even do an outer line around the whole thing that would give it the outer edge on it. So maybe I'll take this whole thing here and we'll do a boundary that surrounds it. We'll move that boundary over so it goes around this guy and move it so it matches up a little bit better. And that one we could do is a grayish color as well. So I'm doing that with a metallic film, and I want to contour that out to give it a little bit of effect, or maybe I'll just give it a thicker outline on it instead and convert that to a curve, or convert that to an object. So we'll do a 2-point there. So now we've got that there, and again, arrange and convert outline to object. So when we look at it in wireframe, we can see that it's actually a CAD cut portion there. I got a little artifact right there that I don't need, and that looks pretty decent. Oh, looks like there's a little artifact down here too. We'll delete that. So now we could have this on, say, like a foil film or something like that to give it another effect. So you're giving the customer different options with this, and we don't need a we just wanted the black and white on this guy, so delete these portions that we don't need on him. So now we've got 3 different options here that the customer can look at in films. Let's make this a little darker gray so you guys can see it there. And that'd be like a metallic film or something like that. So maybe we would want to add a little eyeball in here to make it look more realistic. Something like that. It doesn't look very good, but I'm not an artist. Not too bad, but you get the idea there that we can give them different options on it by the process that we're using. And with this one over here, doing the blends and effects, and I can change around and do whatever colors I want all the way through it. I could even add little tones in there and things like that. I can get something that's really unique and different. So simple, specialized film, something either CAD prints, or if you've got a print and cut system, you could do it there too. Now, if I've got a print and cut system and I want to get a cut line around this guy, it's really simple. I'm going to do my 3-step method that I talk about all the time. I'll surround it. It's different objects that are surrounded there, so it says 12 objects. Do my boundary that goes around it, and then come over and right-click on my cut contour, and I've got a cut line going all the way around it right on the edge. Now, I won't get into much details on that because I've got several videos out there that show you how to work with that and then give it a bleed zone and things like that. So that's adding some effects to it. How about some text? They'd asked for, they're going to be Penguin Pals Daycare. So Penguin Pals Daycare. So we've got the design right here, and we're adding in this. So I'm going to delete these so we can recreate that, and we'll start off with some lettering. And if you watched my last webinar, we did a bunch on that. So Penguin Pals, and I think I went with a 80 on the font, somewhere in there, and we'll choose a different font. I had Bada Boom, but it could be literally anything you want. Everybody's favorite kid one is Curls, either Curls MT. That one doesn't look real good there. Or how about somebody's going to cringe when I do this, Comic Sans, everybody's favorite font. The thing I don't like about Comic Sans is it's pretty tight, and it's definitely, you should use it for kid stuff. So I don't like the way that looks. I'm going to go with the Bada Boom one here, and it's real tight. I don't like how tight it is there. So I can come over and adjust my kerning with the shape tool, and we'll drag that out a bit. That's a little bit nicer. Got some definition between it, and we'll center it with our guy here. So I selected both and then hit the C key, or I could do arrange and align and distribute, and you've got all the shortcut keys. So I just centered it, and I used the shortcut key on the keyboard real quick. So I got my Penguin Pals, and I can right-click, and as I'm dragging this down, even hold the Shift key to keep it lined up. And I need to change that text in there, so we'll double-click in there, and we'll center it, or it's going to start from one side. So I'll hit center, and I'm going to call it, put down here daycare. So it kind of went from the center out, and it kept my kerning. The reason I did that is it kept my kerning consistent with up above. So it's a fairly easy way to do that. Now, to get the curve around this, we could do it a number of different ways. We could align it to text to a path, so I could make a circle here, maybe hold Shift and Control, and then put that to the center of the page by hitting P, and now I can take that text and align it to that. Don't do this one too often, but fit text to path, and there's our penguin pals on the path. And then I could separate it, and it kind of moved them out, kind of shifted them out, so I could choose from my presets over here. Maybe I want them straight up and down. That doesn't look that great. How about this one here? That's a little bit better, but it's kind of shifted all over the place. So I'm not happy with any one of those. The way I usually do my curved text is just using the envelope tool. So we'll take our penguin pals right there, and we'll go on over to the envelope tool. If you don't have it open here, it usually defaults to blend right there. You can come out, and we'll go down to envelope. And I've got the basic envelope right around it there that comes up, and I'll choose my single arc mode and hold down Control as I'm dragging that up. And I know I'm going into the stuff up above it, but that's all right because I'm going to lower it. And that one's got a decent curve to it. We'll lower it down. That's not too bad right there. And that's still a font, so I could still edit it in there. Maybe I want to go down to 72 on that. Now that kind of messed it up because of the curve, so you want to try to get that to where it's at if you can. Or I actually could solve that by probably going to center. Ooh, that didn't work too well, so let's hit Control Z a few times. That's always your friend. And we should have centered it first. Yeah, we'll go back ahead a couple here. I went too far on that Control Z. There we go, penguin pals. So we'll take this one and we'll make sure that it's centered, and then we'll do our envelope tool. Hold down the Control and bring this up. All right. So let's see if I can change that now. And that's a little bit better on there. It's not exactly how I'd want it, but it is decent on there, and we can actually go in and grab the different nodes of that that envelope, and you can adjust the nodes and work with those in there if you want to. So you can kind of play around with each and every one of them and change where it's at if I want it bigger or smaller, or play around with the portions of it. Grab that arrow right there. So you can get some neat effects with that, but we're going to put this back right there, penguin pals. Oh, one more. Now, what if I wanted to have a drop shadow effect or something on the bottom portion here? Drop shadows are very easy to do with this. I'm going to take this portion here. I'm going to hit Control C and Control V. I'm going to change the color of it, so we'll make it, let's choose this color. We can use the eyedropper tool over here, and we wanted that gold color in there. And then we'll bring it down and drop it on there, so there's the gold color. And we're going to bring this guy up and over a little bit using the arrow keys. So now we've got daycare in there, so they're getting real fancy with it. And I'll group those two together and click with the one up above, holding the Shift key, and hit C. That centered it out. And not too bad on this. We got the penguin pals, we got our nice little penguin there, and we've got a drop shadow on that. So adding a little bit of text to it, and then also discussing with the customer about that, it may or may not add another color to the design. Maybe this portion in here we did it as a plastisol transfer, and penguin pals, it's not going to be daycare down here. Let's change this out. We'll get rid of that guy. Oh, I had them grouped together. So I'll hit Control Z, and we'll ungroup them. I'll get rid of this portion here, center it up again, and now it's going to be child's name, Jody. And they want that customized on each one. So we could have this portion done with a plastisol transfer because maybe they want 80 of them. And layering cut vinyl just is not going to be good for that job. I'm going to want to get transfers from Transfer Express and have it do that portion of it. And then this portion down here, I'll do some CAD cut vinyl and just put that on top of it after it's on there. So we can customize each one of them because they're going on a field trip, and they want to have everybody have their names on there and be able to identify them as part of the group. So you can add that customization. That's an easy upcharge too. We're always concerned about how much it costs and how much we can make off of it. Customizing with a name on there somewhere is a very, very easy way to increase the price tag on something without going really overboard in design or anything else. So once we've got this all done like this, and we've got our design and the customer's happy with it, and they've worked with all this, then we need to get them a proof. And in my next webinar, I'm going to go over how to make some templates and how to add a little pizzazz to stuff and how to work with proofs. But here's a quick proof that I did with this one. And you can see I just dropped it onto a t-shirt graphic, and there's our Penguin Pals Daycare. And we could do this in separate pages along there with those other designs. Remember, we had the adding effect. Maybe I'm going to do one with this and one with the black and white. So I could take this guy here, and we'll group it and copy it. Control-C. I hit Control-G and Control-C. And now I'm actually going to make another page and drop them in there. We'll go back to our proof for customer, and I'll grab the whole shirt, copy that. And I'm going to show you some easier ways to do this. And we'll take in the next webinar. And we're going to move him up above, because right now he's kind of below that. So the shortcut key for that is Shift and Page Up. So there he is above it. And then we can do our C and E and center it in there. Maybe make it a little smaller. And I'll steal from the one before it. We'll take the, we're going to copy this one to kind of match it up. Oops, Control V. And now I can take my little guy here and maybe match them up a bit on it. So it'd be a little bit better if I had these simplified in there, and we'll kind of show you that in the next one. He's not quite the same size. And we'll take this, right-click and ungroup, and then get rid of the top guy. Look at that. We've got a single color shirt, Penguin Pals Daycare, all set for the customer to be able to sign off on. So you can see where this one here and that one there, two very similar designs, the same basics, but two totally different processes on how we're going to make it, how we're going to produce this, and what we're going to do. But it all started out with a conversation with the customer on what they're looking for, how many they want, what type of process are they looking for. Maybe they're going to be reordering these on a regular basis, and we want that Penguin Pals portion here in a plastisol transfer or a print and cut all set up to go. And we're adding the names in there like we did on this one with Jody. And they're going to be doing this for the next year or the whole summer vacation as kids come and go. So I would order extras on it. So I have them on hand, and they can call up, hey, we need 4 more and a youth small. And here's the names for those 4, and because we already had the extra plastisol transfers, we can run that right out for them. So pretty quick and easy there. Let's look back over at our slides to make sure I got everything. We talked about adding elements to the design, some lettering, a little bit of color, and how to work with that. I didn't get into the gradient on the nose. I will be showing that in a later webinar on how to work with gradients and mesh and stuff like that. Also to work with perspective so that you can set it up so maybe you're creating a decal that's going to go on the side of a building, and you want to show it in that angle, that perspective view. And some of the effects that we can do with this, with curving out the lettering, with changing the way the design was done, using specialty materials like that bling. Maybe they wanted a bling penguin. That'd be kind of neat, a bling penguin. Or if they want it with the print and cut and getting a gradient in there. So there's some more in there. And creation, we talked about CAD cut, need to layer. If I'm doing that penguin with all those colors and I'm doing a CAD cut, that's a lot of layers. There was 4 different colors in there, and I need to do each one of those separate. That's 4 times with a heat press. That design I would probably send out for a plastisol transfer if I didn't have a print and cut system, or if I had a print and cut system, I would just do that process there. And I briefly hit on the setup for operation, putting a cut line around it. Plenty of other videos I have out there. The transfers, I'm just going to send out the finalized artwork to produce, and remember we talked about possibly having those names underneath it. I've got on here proof to the customer, and that was the last page that we did there, and a lot of times I'll give them a couple options on that as well, and have 2 or 3 options in the product, and maybe have it on another blank of something, on a ball cap or something else to try to drive up some sales. But never complete your design and send it out for a process or start cutting it or start printing and cutting it until the customer signed off on it. I know that sounds so intuitive, but I talk to so many shops out there, and They just want to get started on the job, so they start going to the next process and there's a spelling error or a name error, or they decide to change a color on it, or whatever it is. They change stuff all the time. So I can't stress that one enough. Never complete the design, never get started on the process of creation of it until you have that signed off proof on there. And I'm going to kind of cheat a little bit here. On the more we're kind of plugging for the next webinar. I know it's summer and everybody's enjoying the weather out there. It will be recorded, just like this one here. But in the next one, we're going to talk about some of those templates and how to set them up for the customer and some easy ways to get things done in there. And also how to protect your design coming out of Corel so clients can't steal that design. And what I mean by that is if we're sending it out, say, as a PDF or a vector graphic, say if I happen to send this as an EPS file to the customer, well, they can just take it to another shop or someplace else and have them produce it, and they are taking advantage of all the artwork that we created and redrew and worked it in there. Another one of those ones that seems very simple, but a lot of people send out PDF proofs, and you got to know how to lock it. So stay tuned to the next webinar. I'm going to show you how to keep that from happening. We've got some time here. I can go back and do some more drawings, but it looks like we've got some questions. At least I hope we do. So far, no one's got any questions?
Nope, Stephen, I did ask all the attendees if they had any questions, and I don't see any popping in just yet. So I don't know if there was. Pardon? No, and everyone's paying attention. So you must have been really thorough. I don't know if there's anything.
The penguin got him. It wasn't me. It was the penguin.
Penguin gets you every time.
Anybody's got a question? Absolutely. If you guys want to see me try one of the processes in here or do anything with it, we've got a couple minutes here. I was leaving a bit of extra time because I thought there would be some.
Yeah, no questions popping in.
Okay, well, maybe we'll end it a little short then. That's nothing wrong with that as well. Let's check our slide here. What video and webinar ideas do you guys have? I ask this every webinar, and I think I've gotten maybe one request out there. So please send me your requests if you've got an idea for a webinar or even just a simple video that we can share with everybody out there. And send them to stephen@imprintables.com. Don't forget, June 25th is going to be the session 5, Give Your Design Flair. We're also going to work on that template and show you how to protect those PDF documents and things like that. As always, you can get a hold of me at 518-630-6655 or stephen@imprintables.com. And you can always visit imprintables.com to see all the different products we have and call them direct at 800-347-0068. And I believe there's a webinar on Thursday too, isn't there?
No, there is no webinar on Thursday.
Oh, that one.
Yep,
right,
that one was rescheduled to June 25th.
Okay.
Lou actually wanted to know, we did get one question and wanted to know if the process was the same on a photograph.
For a photograph and redrawing it, that's a really involved process. It is somewhat similar in that you're going to be picking lines out to go with and go along to get your different shaded areas in there. I don't think I can really show it with this here, and I don't know of a graphic I have readily available to show it. But Lou, if you could send that to me as a email, and we'll see if I can't even just do a basic one and a separate video and put it on YouTube for you guys. Or I can also link you to a couple that are out there. But with a photograph, you've got so many more things going on in there, all the different gradients and shading and everything, that you kind of have to pick lines to go with on it and just run through that. So it's not as simple as a logo like this one here.
And Maricel wanted to know if you could show one more time how you did the combine for the outline.
Oh, to kind of weld them together? Let's see what we have on this guy here. Is this combined or no? Okay, this one isn't quite combined. So I've got the head portion here separate. And, oh, that was just an extra bar that was in there. It was some artifacts. So we'll do something else here to get that for you. We'll delete that artifact in there. So let's add a foot. real quick. Let's see if I can do this under pressure real quick. We'll go into there, here to here, and down. All right. Right click and curve this guy out. This isn't going to be real great. And take this one to a line so I can curve it out. Ooh. Kind of get a toe there, a toe here. And I would add some lines to kind of give it depth, but I just want to show you real quick. And curve, and we'll bring this guy up. And we'll say that this is somewhat set up here. And again, we'll go into our line, and we're going to make it 4 point, round it out. So it's not real pretty. I'd obviously do it a little bit better on the other way. But this one here, we'll make it red so we can see the difference. And Control-Shift-Q. We'll take this one here and this one here, and let's see if our simplify will work. Well, it doesn't look like it did anything with the simplify or the intersect. That one just created something in there, and that's not what I wanted to do. So sometimes you got to try the different processes and see which one's going to work better. Arrange, and we're going to do order behind this. Something's not going on. I see what I did. Actually, when I simplified it that one time, I created a little gap in there, and that's not what I wanted to do. So I want to put that one behind. Order behind this one, and take this here, and we'll do our intersect. So that created this object here. Oh, I don't know if I cut it. Now I'm having difficulties with it.
Stephen, when do you want to use combine instead of weld?
Combine instead of weld. If I weld something together, like I take this one here and this one here and I weld it, you can see it just kind of flatten that out, and that's not what I wanted. I wanted these two. I hit Control-Z there. Combine, it's not going to play with me right now either, is combine will keep them as separate objects in there, but they will be kind of held together. See how combine there kept the overlap right there?
Yes.
But I'll go back, and if I hit weld this time, weld, see how it cut it kind of in there?
Yes.
It's not going to do the same effect. They're fairly close to each other. There's not a huge amount of difference. But if I take this one here and this guy, and I do weld, now I can't break those apart. That's a single curve on there. If I right-click and break curve apart, it breaks it into a whole bunch of separate portions. If I look at it in wireframe, each one of those has to be taken care of. But if I had done combine, I'd be able to, hit the wrong button there, I'd be able to keep them as separate objects within there, and then when I break it apart, it should keep them separate. And it just broke this one off of there instead of the whole item. So we can bring that over and work with it. So it's a little bit tricky. They're very, very similar to each other, combine and weld, but it's how it treats those objects separately. And when we welded that and trimmed it before, it cut that portion out there as well. So I hope that kind of explains it. Maybe I'll make a short video showing each one of those again and what the difference is and how they work.
Yeah.
And I'll post that up to everybody that was in the webinar here. So I don't feel like I'm doing a really good explanation of it. So I'll get something out there for you so that you guys can see it. And wow, I made a mess of that, didn't I? I broke it all apart.
You did fine.
So. All right.
Laura wanted to know, And this is for everyone. Typically, we have the webinar up for replay within 24 hours. So by this time tomorrow, there should be a webinar wrap-up posted, and we'll also have the video on our YouTube channel, the Great Garment Graphics YouTube channel, and also in our archives. So that way, if you want to kind of replay it and do all this step-by-step in order to really get it down or watch it a few times, you'll be able to do that. And it is typically within 24 hours that we do have the video posted. So thank you so much, Stephen, for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure. Always fun doing these, and I look forward to the next one, and hopefully everybody will be back for that.
Yes.
I think that's all I have.
Yes, that's all I have, and thanks, everyone. Make it a great day.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you at the next one.